Okay, these are looking pretty good. I like the different compositions with foreground objects here and the more interesting over the head shot, and that's kind of also nicely composed. So those are looking good. Um, I'm a little concerned about the scale of things here. It's just looking small, but let's take a look. Um, I mean, I guess it's all right. It's just a really small house. Um, I think, look to add detail, especially places where things meet the ground. Like these really sharp lines really grab your eyes. So adding little tufts of grass or rocks or other debris in those, especially to break up those kind of lines, can really help. I think the sidewalk needs a texture, and it should not be so perfect. There should be some damage and aging to the concrete, and again, maybe little bits of grass or weeds growing up through that, maybe some dirt, adding a little bit of, debris. I think anyone who lives near a freeway embankment, it's a kind of place where you're probably going to see a fair amount of just rubbish on the ground, different bits of trash people have thrown, typically. And I think the scale of the grass is, if that's one blade of grass, that's like, better part of the height of his leg. So I think you need to increase the repeat on the grass. Um, I can't tell. Is that? Yeah. So just going to delete history on that and go in the attribute editor and look at this and the color and yeah. So maybe. That still looks really big to me. That's starting to look more like the right size. Even then, you still have some pretty large. Um, I mean, now that's better. I think it could go more. Maybe at that level, it's about right. I mean, then you start to see the repeating pattern. Is the only problem with that. So that's the trade-off there. But that's where I think you need to get in little tufts of graphs here and there. So, and breaking it up and other rocks, and maybe, these again are a little bit too geometric, but they're the right idea. And then maybe there's more paving stones there. Or maybe there's, I don't know, some other objects in the yard, a little kiddie pool, or I don't know, an old bicycle, or well, I don't know, whatever someone would keep in their yard. Just think of different things you could put in. Maybe you want to actually paint this texture instead of just having it be repeated grass. Maybe you want to get a grass texture and paint it, but maybe it's patchy where it's dried out and kind of just sandy in spots, and then in other areas it's grass. So it's not just an even sort of astroturf looking thing. Um, and yeah, maybe if the trees could be a little bit more than just cylinders, if those could have a little bit more shape to them, and yeah, the road. Whoa, that's weird. The road could use a texture as well. It looks like it's got some weird kind of stretched out set of lines there, and then suddenly I see the grass. I'm not sure why that is. There might be two surfaces like kind of right on top of each other. Yeah, maybe this needs to come up just a touch. Oops. Um, I don't know. It seems like they're competing with each other, so I might, fix the geometry here and just, anyways, get those adjusted. What is the, just looking at the camera attribute editor, and if we increase that, that'll help. That seems to help a little bit. Yeah, so more detail, spend some time in the texture of the, oh yeah, that's still in the wrong position, but, um, get it a little bit more populated with objects. Look out for these really clean, sharp lines and find ways to break that up with other bits of grass, rocks, and other things you might find there. But also, think about where your camera is going to be. So, like if the camera, well, you have these other shots, right? So, you know, if these are your shots, like you only really need to dress these parts of the set, right? Like anything you'd see maybe here. So you don't have to, maybe you don't, it's pointing at stuff in the side yard or the street. If we don't see the street or if we don't see that side yard, don't bother. Just really flesh out the areas that we're actually going to see.